On October 13th, the southern Chinese city of Shenzhen ordered all residents to prepare emergency supplies in 72 categories, such as enough food and water for 72 hours and a fire blanket. Last month, China's Emergency Management Ministry and several municipal governments, such as Beijing and Tianjin, issued similar orders, but the news didn't attract attention. Shenzhen made its announcement on the same day that Chinese leader Xi Jinping told troops to focus on preparing for war, fueling concerns that Beijing was getting ready for a conflict. Chinese leader Xi Jinping visited Marine troops stationed in Chaozhou City, about 220 miles away from Shenzhen and also in Guangdong Province, and told them to put all your thoughts and energies on preparing a war and remain on high alert. Shenzhen and Chaozhou are located to the west of Taiwan. On October 18th, Hong Kong-based newspaper South China Morning Post quoted a Beijing-based military source that the PLA, People's Liberation Army, the official name of Chinese military, had deployed its most advanced missile, the DF-17, to the country's southeast coast in preparation of a possible future invasion of Taiwan. The Chinese regime considers Taiwan a part of its territory, despite the island being a de facto nation-state with its own democratically elected government, military, and currency. Beijing has threatened to use military force to bring the island under its fold. US-based China affairs commentator Tang Jingyuan said that the Shenzhen announcement was likely part of a propaganda strategy to intimidate Taiwan. Tang said in a phone interview, "It is a part of Xi Jinping's propaganda strategy on unifying Taiwan by force." Tang added that it's unlikely that Beijing would start a conflict, as the Chinese regime is facing political challenges. He said, politically, Xi is facing major challenges from different factions within the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese economy is in very bad shape. Taiwan has the support of the US, Japan, and several other developed countries, so China won't have a stronger military force than Taiwan and its allies. US-based Chinese democracy activist and scholar Wang Juntao told the Chinese-language edition of the Epoch Times in an interview that he believed Xi would not start a conflict in the Taiwan Strait in the near future, but could do it before 2027. Wang's father was formerly a major general-ranking officer at China's National Defense University. Wang has insider sources within the military. Wang said about half of the PLA senior commanders were promoted to current positions from non-combat forces in recent years, so they are not capable of commanding a real war right now. Secondly, a large number of PLA weapons are newly deployed ones, such as J-20 fighters. Soldiers need time to be trained on how to use these weapons. On October 19th, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo warned the United States and Brazil both need, for their own security, to reduce their dependence on imports from communist China. At a virtual summit on increased U.S.-Brazil cooperation aimed at post-pandemic recovery, Pompeo underscored the importance of expanding bilateral economic ties, given what he called enormous risk stemming from communist China's significant participation in their economies. He said,
and to the extent we can find ways that we can increase the trade between our two countries, we can by that decrease each of our two nations' dependence for critical items coming from China. Each of our two peoples will be more secure, and each of our two nations will be far more prosperous, whether that's 2 or 5 or 10 years from now, this connection.
The Trump administration is working to boost ties with Brazil and provide a counterweight to the Chinese Communist Party's CCP's global ambitions. Delegates from the two countries also met to sign a new agreement to boost rules-based trade opportunities. Brazil's conservative president, Jair Bolsonaro, is keen to follow suit given the national security risks presented by the CCP. Currently, China is Brazil's largest trade partner, particularly for soy and iron ore. Bolsonaro is yet to ban Brazilian telecom companies from buying 5G equipment from China's Huawei Technologies Corporation Limited, as more countries are doing after alarm bells were raised over network security, given the CCP's control over all companies registered in China. At the summit organized by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Bolsonaro confirmed the signing of a protocol outlining 3 agreements with the United States that will ensure good business practices between the two allies and stop corruption. He said the package will slash red tape and increase trade and investment. He said, in the last year and a half, together with President Trump, we have elevated Brazil-US relations to its best moment ever and opened a new chapter in the relationship between the two largest economies and democracies in the hemisphere. Two top U.S. Democratic lawyers slammed the Trump administration for increasing trade cooperation with Bolsonaro's government, given its abysmal record on human rights, the environment, and corruption. The Democrats made no mention of Communist China's abysmal human rights and environmental protection record. U.S. House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Richard Neal said, giving President Bolsonaro ammunition to claim that the United States endorses his behavior sullies our nation's reputation as a country that demands our trade partners respect human rights and the rule of law. Pompeo said Brazil was getting closer to joining the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, grouping rich nations with the support of the United States. He said, we want this to happen as quickly as we can. Pompeo said that the U.S. Export-Import Bank would back projects valued at $450 million in Brazil this year, while the U.S. Development Finance Corps had plans involving about $1 billion in projects there.
A new wave of anti-government rallies and protests have risen in Thailand. On Sunday, tens of thousands of people took to the streets of Bangkok, demanding monarchy reforms and that Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha steps down. The young people passed out goggles, helmets and mineral water to their partners one by one. They told each other to take safety first under the tense atmosphere. This has been the scene on the streets of Bangkok, Thailand for more than 5 days. The anti-government protests started from a Thai campus and took to the streets on October the 14th. On October the 15th, the Thai government declared a state of emergency in Bangkok, banned gatherings of more than 5 people, and arrested more than 20 protesters. Thai police fired water cannons against protesters on October the 16th in central Bangkok. These actions aroused the support of celebrities from all walks of life overseas. Hong Kong student movement leaders Joshua Wong and Nathan Law posted slogans, "Stand with Thailand," on social media. On October the 17th, K-pop Thai-American singer Ni Kun posted on Twitter condemning the violence. Miss Universe Thailand Amanda Obdam and Taiwanese artist Chen Xiaxing also shared photos of the Thai student movement on social platforms, calling for everyone's attention.
I want to be part of standing up for democracy because this is our opportunity. Everyone is out, so there is nothing to worry about.
เราห่วงอนาคตของเราในภายภาคหน้าค่ะเพราะว่าตอนนี้คนไทยทุกคนเราว่าเขาเริ่มรู้สึกว่าจริงๆแล้วการที่มีเขาอยู่มันไม่ได้
I am worried about my future. Many people realize that they cannot make our economy better. The last 6 years have proven this.
Thailand has seen 5 large-scale public protests since July this year. The current Thai king Mahathir Jiralongkorn and Prime Minister Prayut have acted very unpopularly many times over involvement in diplomatic strategies with the CCP. In August, the Thai government, ignoring the economic recession and the people's livelihood, decided to spend nearly $720 million to purchase 2 submarines from China, causing huge public grievances and a suspension of the deal. Young people from Thailand, Hong Kong and Taiwan formed the Milk Tea Alliance earlier this year, in response to the increased presence of Chinese trolls and nationalist commentators on social media. When the Thai government ordered the suppression of protests, people from Hong Kong and Taiwan continued to stand up in support of the Thai protesters, demonstrating the Milk Tea's alliance spirit of helping each other out. Chinese authorities recently accused Bright Dairy, a well-known company in Shanghai, of leaking state secrets. The company was fined $45,000. Information circulated online suggests that the penalty might be related to Bright Dairy's advertising slogan, "Please give me Bright," and it might also be the result of CCP infighting between the Xi Jinping faction and the Jiang Zemin faction. On October the 13th, China's Enterprise Credit Information System showed that Bright Dairy was fined on September the 27th by the Shanghai Municipal Market Supervision Administration because its advertisement has violated regulations, harmed national dignity and interests, and divulged state secrets. However, the disciplinary notice did not give specific details. It only ordered the company to stop its current advertisement, deemed a violation of regulations. The news created a stir among Chinese netizens. Many people said they think the fine is probably related to Bright Dairy's advertising slogan, "Please give me Bright." In Chinese, this phrase is exactly the same as "Please give me light." Some netizens wrote, "What state secret is it? Maybe the secret is that our country is in darkness. It's an open secret, but no one is allowed to speak out." Well, the fact that our country is in darkness is no longer a secret.
We are in total darkness here. We have neither light nor the right to speak. This phrase is too blatant and satirical. Aren't they trying to say that we're in a dark country?
Upon seeing the hot discussions on the internet, the Shanghai Municipal Supervision and Administration Bureau issued a notice on October the 18th, stating that Bright Dairy was fined because the advertisement showed a map of China, but the map did not show the country's entire territory. Bright Dairy also issued a clarification notice, saying it was because of the incomplete map in the video. Some Shanghai residents pointed out that Jiang Zemin's family is in charge of half the Shanghai enterprises, and Bright Dairy also belongs to the Jiang family. The punishment of this company is probably a result of infighting between Xi Jinping and Jiang Zemin.
I find it incredible because these companies have been dominating in Shanghai for decades. Half of Shanghai enterprises belong to this faction, and they monopolize the industry, always taking either the first or the second position. Who would dare to offend them? If an ordinary official dares to offend the company, he will lose his job and will even be jailed.
Public information shows that Bright Dairy was established in 1996. Its predecessor was the Shanghai Kerder Dairy Company, established by a British businessman in 1911. It is currently one of the largest dairy companies in China and was among the top 100 national agricultural products processing enterprises in 2019, ranking 30th on the list.